system. Until that day happens, it's going to be more of the same, honestly. So don't expect it to change. And thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. DGAF. All right, guys. It is, guys and gals, it is June 18th, 2021. And on today's podcast, we're going to discuss a handful of what I feel is pretty relevant and interesting topics. On the podcast tonight, we're going to talk about how Sprint is being fined. And we all know that Sprint is no more. It is officially T-Mobile. It's all just, T-Mobile, whatever. And but they're still paying the price. So T-Mobile's going to have to pay the piper on this one. I'll explain what happened and what they're going to have to be paying and all that. Also, T-Mobile parent company Deutsche Telekom falling on hard money times. Not like going bankrupt needing money, but, they need money to make their company and their business and their networking better. And, big telecom business requires huge capital investment and infusing of billions of dollars. And in this case, it's euros because it's a European country. And they're going to go sniffing around to see if they could find some investors. I'll explain how much they're looking for and who they're looking for and what they're going to do with it. Also on the show, Yahoo Mobile is no more. For those of you out there that have Yahoo Mobile or are thinking about it, you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to figure something else out. You're going to have to look for an alternative solution. I'll give you guys some ideas of what you could look for, similar services that'll probably price you in around the same area and give you a very similar feature set and stuff like that. Yep, RIP Yahoo Mobile. And lastly, we'll close it off with the Verizon story. Big shout out to Isaac and Tyrone from Tech Life. We, got this group text going on, and there was a little bit of concern about Verizon potentially dropping capex. And, like I said earlier in kind of the beginning of the podcast as we were backstage there, I would say generally that's concerning. I don't like to see a carrier spending less. It's usually an indication that the money's running dry. There's something financially going on. But I think in this case, based on the acceleration of their spending, it may not really be much of a concern. And I'll explain why, and I'll give my reasons. Now, I would like to see them keep the capex up. I mean, even if it's just maintaining, if it's not increasing. But hey, I'm okay with it. I mean, even with T-Mobile dropping capex, I'm okay with that too. I think some people, like I said in my video, big shout out to Alexis. Like I said in my video about T-Mobile dropping capex, everything they've said thus far for the the guidance in the foreseeable future, it's all been cost cutting. At some point, you can't cut costs anymore, and you must invest. I feel like T-Mobile has not accelerated their investment as much as, say, AT&T and Verizon. So them dropping capex is a little bit concerning because they're playing from behind. Verizon's playing from a position of power, meaning their densification and other things. So I'll talk about that, and I'll give you my points, and people are more than welcome to agree or disagree. I'm just calling it the way I see it, All right, let's start first with the Deutsche Telekom story. Looks like the parent company of T-Mobile is looking for some dough. They're looking for investors. They are trying to improve the infrastructure portion of their networking. For those of you that are not really familiar with what it takes to build out proper networking, it doesn't matter if you're doing home internet or if you're doing wireless services with tower sites and things of that nature. It takes a lot of fiber. Okay, and a lot of older infrastructure is starting to become obsolete. It's not sufficient. Think about all the old copper wiring that provided the DSL services of the last 20 or 30 years. That has to be upgraded. A lot of the older coaxial infrastructure from the 80s and the 90s, it's starting to go bad. It's gotten damaged or frayed. Maybe it's not, as dependable, reliable, like in the case of, my regional providers here. Anyways, it takes a big investment. I'm not going to understate it. I'm not going to overstate it. I'm going to call like it is. These companies have to reinvest in the company infrastructure for them to remain viable and offer good services. Reliable is important. You got to be dependable. Home internet's no joke. Wireless is no joke. People make 911 calls. So all these things are really important. The reliability piece is crucial. So what Deutsche Telekom is doing in this program to raise money and funds for the investment into their fiber networking is they're providing incentives, and these incentives are geared towards investors for stakes within the company. So, hey, give us lots of money so we can build out this fiber network and upgrade our networking, and we'll give you ownership within the company in the form of shares. So there's kind of like you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of deal. And then what they could do is they can fund the infrastructure build, the renovation, the improvement for all of that fiber build out. Now, this is all part of a large-scale network modernization that Deutsche Telekom has undertaken over the last several years. This is not something new. It's something that they have put on the forefront of something they deem as important, crucial, and critical that they must attend to very with urgency. And, honestly, they've got to be able to compete. That's the bottom line. If your competitors are rolling out fiber networking and their networks are better than yours and more reliable, and people are willing to pay for your competitors' services, you got to pivot and adjust. You've got to do the same thing. And of course, these are large-scale, long-term investments, right? This is not a situation where you're investing in the short term and it's not going to come back to you. It's going to be a return of investment for many years to come. So, they've got to compete with companies within their country, which is Germany. Deutsche Telekom also exists in other countries as well as provider of home ISP and wireless. And not just within their home country, but also in their neighboring countries too. And it appears like, they've been pretty much working with copper up to this point. So they've been on a lot of older infrastructure. They haven't been able to really do the speed improvements that they wanted to do for their wireless networking and for the home services. So all of this to say, it's been due. They've had to do this for a while. I'm guessing they held off as long as they could until they had the funding to do it. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But I think the goal is to get fiber to about 4 million new addresses. So they want to serve a lot of customers that can help them generate a lot of revenue. In a related move, Deutsche Telekom is also selling portions of its business ownership in the Netherlands in order to help free up the cash flow and reduce some of the debt in preparation of the infrastructure investment. So basically what Deutsche Telekom is doing is essentially what AT&T just did. For those of you that followed the AT&T media asset diversion, what AT&T did was they were able to reduce their debt load by spinning off their business, their media assets, but keeping 71% ownership stake in that new company. So it's still part of their holdings, right? It's still part of their business when it comes to generating revenue, but they're not going to be utilizing it as an operation piece. It's going to be its own standalone company. And then by doing that, they also were able to offload a lot of debt from the AT&T company. So in doing so, they killed two birds with one stone. And now they have a lot of free investment dollars, the cash flow they can use for competing in 5G and wireless, okay, and fiber, right, wireline services. So that's kind of essentially what Deutsche Telekom is looking to do here as well. So I would expect that in the near term, in the near future, as the fiber project actually originated a few years ago, things should really start to catch traction for Deutsche Telekom. We should see improvements in their performance. And, to be honest with you, they've got a lot on their plate, and I'll kind of sum it up in this way. Their main focus is their core business, which is wireless and wireline in their native country. This project could potentially require about 10 billion euros. That's a lot of money. When you think about $10 billion, I mean, it took Verizon I think 4 or 5 years to generate the 10 billion. That they, I don't know if you guys heard about the Fiber One project. I'll talk more about it later. But it literally took them cost-cutting measures over the course of 4 years to generate that 10 billion. So I don't know how long it's going to take Deutsche Telekom to get the investors in to invest 10 billion euros. But with that money, they have effectively planned for the upgrades. I think they want to go somewhere in the neighborhood of, they've already invested 600,000 euros to about 2.5, or 2.5. It was 600 million euros, and then they want to get that up to 2.5 billion euros. That was planned before this. So they had already planned to do it. But if you look at the scale, even if they go from 600 million, let's call it a half billion euros. Even if they get to 2.5 billion euros, their goal is to get to 10 billion. So they really can only fund a quarter of their project. So they're going to be looking for a big, hefty piece of help from outsiders, from investors, to be a part of this initiative. 2022, by the end of this year, they've got the 2 billion euro investment planned. Remember, 1 euro equals 82 cents. Right? So when you're making that little bit of conversion in your mind, that's how it works. What's going on, Aiden? Good to see you. The new planned investment would allow them to scale bigger than their initial goal. Remember what I was saying? They wanted to be in 4 million households. If they were to scale at that 4 times rate, that extra money allows them to expand to a lot more homes. They can push it beyond 10 million homes by 2024. So in the next couple of years, we could see a huge build. Here's the problem, and this is why they're reaching out for more money. Deutsche Telekom has 130 billion euros in debt. Does that sound familiar? That's Verizon status. That's AT&T status. I think T-Mobile's a little bit less. I think T-Mobile's more like 90 or so billion or something. I think it's like 80 billion the last I checked. I'm not sure what other, I don't know if they're writing off any debt for T-Vision or anything. We'll have to wait and see on that. But, you know, there is revolving debt with these companies. But that's a lot of debt for a wireless telecom in Europe, relatively speaking. So they want to attempt to buy out SoftBank's shares. You guys know about the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. Deutsche Telekom wants to be the majority shareholder. They want to have 51% control of the T-Mobile company, right? T-Mobile USA. And they would be doing so. In order to do that, they'd have to buy them outright from SoftBank. So there is some speculation that if and when the project is completed for this fiber build, that Deutsche Telekom could potentially get out of telecom. And then completely walk away from the business, right? And they would just be, investing, take that fiber investment that they got, and then just utilize that as an asset. So that's an interesting. I would be really shocked if that was to play out so perfect like that, honestly. But the reason I wanted to talk about Deutsche Telekom with you guys tonight is because that is the T-Mobile US parent company. So anything that they do could potentially have repercussions in their investment on the U.S. side of T-Mobile. So they've got a lot of debt. They want to invest in fiber infrastructure, and they also want to have a bigger piece of T-Mobile in the USA. So this is a fluid situation. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll let you know more if anything comes up of this, and I'm definitely tracking it. Alexis says, I bet T-Mobile is spending over $1 million per day on duplicate operations on the Sprint side. That should have long since been merged. How many data centers are managing billing and contracts? That's a topic that I will definitely cover in another podcast, Alexis. You got my wheels spinning yesterday with that comment. And honestly, it just goes to show you that if you don't have the proper systems in place, it really, really makes your profitability, and it puts it in question. You can't have multiple systems. It's not going to work. Efficiency is important in business. In fact, efficiency can make or break your business. It's the difference between being a Forbes 500 company and a company that, struggles to pay its bills, right? And loses money and lacks investment, you know. You know what, Moose? I don't think so. I don't think Deutsche Telekom will sell T-Mobile USA. I think they want in bigger, actually. Honestly. All right, next story. All right, we're already like 24 minutes in. Nice. All right, this one out of Sprint. For those of you that are, legacy Sprint customers, new T-Mobile customers, whatever the case may be. This doesn't affect any customers per se unless you live in Omaha, Nebraska, and you are a former Sprint customer. Sprint just got fined 50. What was it? What was the number? Oh, they just got fined $500,000 for overcharging Omaha, Nebraska residents. This dates back to the year 2019. So at the time, Sprint was a standalone company. It wasn't part of T-Mobile just yet. And the merger was like in the process or whatever. There were $300,000 in overcharges. Sprint is going to have to pay those back. And since there is no Sprint anymore, those are going to be T-Mobile checks. Apparently, they overcharged every single Omaha, Nebraska resident customer that was on the Sprint network on every one of their lines over the duration of 6 years. What in the heck was going on there? Apparently, there were some charges on people's bills. I don't know. I guess the moniker, the way that they were named on the bills, it was saying things like 911 tax, but it was actually an emergency tax. I don't know. Some were calling it registrative fees or something. I don't know what was going on. Anyways, they misnamed it. They misidentified it. They overcharged people on those fees. And now they got to pay them back and pay the fine to the FCC. So if you are an Omaha, Nebraska resident, or you were at this time, and they owe you money, you can be expecting a check from T-Mobile because Sprint doesn't exist. So, haha, Eugene. He's probably pissed. Hashtag sweaty armpits. He's going to have to write some... I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's just kind of stupid, that had happened. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just whatever. I just thought that would be a good chuckle, give you a laugh or something. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on from the Sprint fine. Okay, let's talk Yahoo Mobile, shall we? All right, for those of you out there that don't want to pay for premium postpaid service, lots of people out there don't need, prefer not to have postpaid. That's perfectly fine. You got tons of prepaid options. You have a lot of MVNO options too. Yahoo Mobile used to be one of those options. And the reason why I'm saying used to be is because that is no longer the case. Unfortunately, Yahoo Mobile is no more. They are closing up shop. They are closing their digital doors. And Yahoo Mobile is no longer a thing. For those of you out there that have been using Yahoo Mobile and enjoyed it, that's awesome. That's great. It's not the end of the world. I got some information to help you guys pivot and transition over to something else. I'm going to throw you some recommendations. I'm going to tell you what you could do. I'm going to give you a time frame as to when this is all going to play out. And hopefully it can help you prepare for the move that you need to make. All right, so time frame. No later than August the 16th is what I'm hearing. Initially, they said by the end of August, so like August 31st. But then I started hearing, August 16th was a date that was being thrown around. So just to be on the safe side, take a look at your billing cycle. Everybody's is different, the day that you started service with a carrier. But I do believe August 16th is the last day. So that means 1 month prior to that. So like say, for example, you pay your bill. Remember, Yahoo Mobile is prepaid. You pay your bill July 16th. You'd have coverage service until August 16th. Anyways, this is all in conjunction with the media assets sale and spinoff of Yahoo over to Apollo Global Management Team. It was like a $5 billion transaction that involves AOL, Yahoo, as well as some other stuff. I think there was some digital media or something. Verizon will still retain 10% ownership stake in that new media company, but they won't have anything to do with the operations of the company. That'll be all Apollo, who they hire and what they do. The deal will close probably by the end of the year, and this will be at about the same time we're probably going to see the TracFone deal close as well. From what I'm hearing, the TracFone deal is a go for the most part. There's not, like, they're going to review it. It's going to get scrutinized, but it doesn't look like there's enough there to prevent it from happening. So, anyways, you may be receiving emails from Yahoo Mobile if you are a Yahoo Mobile customer, and they'll let you know of what you're going to be doing about your last bill, when that'll be, and when your service will be discontinued. But again, it's all about what you're going to do now. Okay, so let's say you've had Yahoo Mobile and you've enjoyed it. You love the features. You love the perks. You love the unlimited data and all that great stuff. It's not the end of the world. You still have options. There's other companies, even that share the same network and experience, that got you covered. What you'll notice is that if you go to the Yahoo Mobile website, the first thing they send you to is Visible Wireless as an option. Okay, and the reason they do that is because Yahoo Mobile and Visible technically operate on the same network core. It's an LTE only experience. I think they do allow millimeter wave access, but it's like capped. But for the most part, it's on the same, priority. It's QCI 9 on the Verizon wireless network. And, if Verizon is a good provider in your area and they have a lot of capacity, you probably really enjoyed your Yahoo Mobile service. Visible is going to be very similar. You're probably not going to notice much of a difference relative to like cellular when it comes to calling and data speeds and other things like that. The one thing that Visible Wireless brings you that is a little bit better than what Yahoo Mobile offered was the pricing. Yahoo Mobile is priced at $40 per month. Visible is also $40 a month for that line, but with every line additional that is on a party, for the party pay feature, you can save money. So 2 lines on a party, and you don't have to own both lines. You could be on someone else's party, right? You just use their code, you put it in when you sign up, and then it gives you an automatic $5 discount for having 2 lines on the same party. If it's 3 lines on the same party, it's a $10 discount. If it's 4 lines on the same party, it's a $15 discount. So essentially, you go from paying $40 per line down to $25 per line. And even better, if you sign up now, Visible has a promo code. Listen up. Promo code SUMMER, all caps, SUMMER. And you can get your first 2 months of Visible service for $15 per month. So if you get on a party, right, and you can get the discounts, right, this is even better than those discounts. So you could use this promotion for the first 2 months, and then in the meantime, find a party to be on, right? So when it comes to cost, the value proposition for Visible is a little bit better, in my opinion. The feature set, when you think about Yahoo with the mail services, maybe that was worth it to some people. You're not going to be getting that with Visible, right? The Yahoo Mail app, these premium add-ons that came with it, and stuff like that. Yeah, and they got some port-in specials and stuff like that too, Jay's Animations. You look around the website and you look around the Reddits of the world and you can find promotions and deals. But, if I was going to tell somebody, if you're trying to keep and retain a very similar experience to Yahoo Mobile, Visible's the way to go. You get unlimited on-device data, unlimited talk, unlimited text. You get unlimited high-speed hotspot data. I think it's capped at 5 megabits per second, but it is unlimited. It's not metered. It's not deprioed outside of that threshold, right? So it's stuck at 5 megabits per second. Honestly, it fits the needs for a lot of people that don't need postpaid service. And you get unlimited everything. You don't have to count data. You don't have to check on anything. It's great. And it's on the Verizon Wireless LTE network, which is legendary for its coverage, And a lot of people tell me all the time that, I have Visible. It's my backup line. It's my secondary line. I have T-Mobile. I have AT&T or something, and it's just a secondary line. I could argue that in the CLE, Visible is good enough to be a primary line, just because Verizon Network's really good here. In some markets, that is the case for some people. In some markets, it's not. I mean, some people have told me, they had Visible and it was unusable in their market because, a lot of deprioritization, a lot of slowdowns because of congestion. That's the deprio life. That's what happens when you pay for less service, right? You can't expect high priority access on a prepaid carrier, and even more so on a carrier like Visible, which even provides more discounts and promotions. Eric, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming through. Yeah, it's just, you got to be realistic about what you're paying for and what you're getting. If you were to pay the premium postpaid line for Verizon, it's an incredible access, but you got to pay $65 a month on an account, multi-line discounts, 50, 45. It's more expensive. That's just the way it is. Hey, Jess, good to see you. So honestly, if you are trying to retain similar service, you want to be as close to your Yahoo Mobile experience. That's probably the best way to go. Now, if you're looking to change up, if you are on Yahoo Mobile and you want to do something different, there's a ton of other options. There's lots of MVNOs. I mean, there's like dozens of them. What's up, Jamaal? Good to see you, man. I swear, if you don't consider Cricket, AT&T prepaid, I would say Metro is an option, even Boost, unless you really go heavy unlimited. Like if you're using more than 30, 35 gigs of data a month, don't go to Boost. But Cricket, sure. AT&T prepaid, absolutely. In fact, I could argue that AT&T prepaid is probably the best prepaid access. What's up, Josh? Metro, you get Amazon, Google One storage. There's all types of perks. Shop around a little bit. Check those offers out. If you're not strapped to the Verizon network, there's other options too. US Mobile's got a Verizon Super LTE network access. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do. Yeah, see, Albert, I'll be honest with you, man. I go over my premium data limit every month, and all deprio is temporary, and oftentimes I don't even feel it, man. So, I don't know. Track phone options, there's still stuff out there, honestly. But, yeah, pay your last bill in July. If you're on Yahoo Mobile, start to make plans, pivot away. If you don't port out your number to another company or to Visible, you're in trouble. You're going to lose your number because they're shutting those doors down. Yep. All right. The next story is the Verizon capex reduction. I'm here to tell you there's not really much to be worried about. It's less than ideal, honestly, but I'm not worried. Truth be told, I think Verizon has earned the faith of people when it comes to spending money, and look, I would love to see them continue to spend at the pace they are, but I don't know, man, is that sustainable? Like, can anybody do that? They're spending a ton of money. Some argue too much, Okay. Sounds all fancy. Nice, Josh. Got that spatial audio going on. Nice, man. Yeah, I agree, man. AT&T prepaid is great. All right. So, rumors, speculation. We got the word from the Verizon CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, Matt Ellis. He was quoted as saying, quote, pretty excited about the potential for reduced network capex. He's probably money exhausted. Like, it's been so expensive to maintain, operate, and build out the 4G LTE network while you're also building out the 5G network. And, it's going to be happening for the next few years. That this extends beyond 2024, 2025. This is probably more like 6, 7, and on. So this article is from lightreading.com. The information out of this article, author is Mike Dano. You guys can check him out. He's on Twitter. So is the the company that has the periodical and does all the articles. He is hopeful to see a capital expenditure reduction within the next few years. Why in the world would he want to be hopeful? Well, he's the chief financial officer. He's trying to operate the company as best as possible, maintain network superiority, getting out in front of the new technologies, all these different things, but he's trying to do it without wasting money. You got investors, you have shareholders, you have your CEO, people got to get paid, their salaries, investors want dividends, like all these things come into account. How in the world, during the 5G renaissance, is Verizon going to pull off a reduction in capex? I asked the same questions about, T-Mobile earlier in the week. T-Mobile has literally said time and time again, everything we're doing is all about efficiencies and synergies. Basically, what they're trying to say is, how do we spend the least amount of money and build out the best network we can possible? The reason I was always concerned about T-Mobile dropping capex is because T-Mobile's network is the smallest of the big three. They're still playing from behind when it comes to coverage. And by that, all I say to you is, if you travel, you know what I'm talking about. The network, in my experience, that historically has always had the most coverage, the best signal across most parts of the country, has been Verizon. When I travel the state of Ohio, AT&T is neck and neck with Verizon in coverage. But they also offer capacity too, because a lot of their sites are newly upgraded in Ohio. So the experience on AT&T in the entire state really is bar none the best. AT&T is so good. Verizon's right there too. I have no gripes. Like every time I had to use my Verizon line, it held up just fine. The calls, the text, the data, it was great. T-Mobile, on the other hand, when I took my family vacation back in March, was the least effective when it came to coverage and data speeds. Everything was cool on the freeway, and when I got off the freeway for dozens of miles, there was either no signal or it was single carrier sites that were really old, outdated, haven't received any upgrades in a long time, and they were crawling. Like, I remember a 30-mile stretch where I ran a speed test from Verizon and AT&T. AT&T was the fastest. Verizon came in at number 2. They always had signal. They weren't always the fastest, but they were always good. They were there. But I don't remember a single speed test in that 30-mile stretch for T-Mobile beyond 2 megabits per second. So loading a video, it would buffer. It would stop playing. It would be disrupted playback. I mean, and then there were parts with no signal. Like, for example, at the resort, there was no T-Mobile signal at all. Like, nothing. I couldn't force band 12. I couldn't force band 71. There was nothing. Outside, inside, it was just terrible. I don't know where the nearest site was, but it wasn't connecting. Those are the trouble areas that I have seen personally when I travel Ohio and even out of state. You can go to Michigan, Pennsylvania, campgrounds. There's still work that T-Mobile has to do to close the coverage gap. If T-Mobile is reducing capex, that's why I'm disappointed. Because if they keep the capex up or increase it, then they can address the coverage issues. They can invest in that initiative. We need to make sure that we match coverage with Verizon and AT&T. You compete. But if you're dropping capex, I say it's harder to do that. How are you going to drop capex and then shore up those network gaps? That's my concern. And that's why I'm not as worried about Verizon. Right? That's one of the things that I'll get to. Anyways, here are some things that Verizon has confirmed that is going to allow them to potentially reduce their capex. Number 1, Verizon said that the Fiber One project will be complete in the next couple of years. Currently, estimates are that it's about 80% finished, so it's mostly done. We're talking about, the One Fiber program is basically a fiber build out of this network infrastructure that is specifically designed to kill two birds with one stone. They're doing it for wireless. They're doing it for wireline. All 5G sites are receiving native Verizon wireless fiber wherever it's feasible. On the sites that they are leasing from like Crown Castle or whatever, that could be a different story. But essentially, they want to get as many of their tower sites on native Verizon fiber. The owner economics of that, it's cost effective. It allows them to be most profitable and make the most money. I mean, that's the way to do it. AT&T is the same way, right? They want to provide as much of their own fiber as possible. And basically, you know, they're going to do all these fiber upgrades, and they'll be able to upgrade their tower sites accordingly. And as they climb them and they give them the attention, they're also going to upgrade their fiber. I think they're doing it with some 4G sites too. So it's not just 5G, they're doing it with the LTE side too. The Fiber One project also involves the millimeter wave nodes because they're going to run the fiber to those. They're going to be doing the small cells, obviously, and then the macro sites, and they're going to be pushing fixed wireless access and also Fios. They're going to continue to operate the Fios business, right, which is a dedicated fiber line for customers. And they like the Fios business. So this focus of growth has been in areas outside of the Fios market. There have been situations where it has made sense for them to continue to roll out fiber. But now they've got like 60 plus markets, where they've really pushed this initiative very strongly. And I think currently 1/3 of their tower sites have native Verizon wireless fiber. And they want to get that number, I think, closer to like half, which is pretty daggone impressive. If you can run half of your own networking fiber, I mean, the owner economics there is really good. So, look, any market or project that shows growth for Verizon, they'll continue to throw the fiber at it. Just look at what Carlos is seeing in Vegas. He's seeing Verizon trucks laying fiber everywhere. That means the Fios business is kicking, and that means the fixed wireless access, the home 5G, the business 5G, the millimeter wave nodes, they're all getting the treatment. So, if it's making them money, they're going to continue to push it. And honestly, if they're 80% done with it today and in 2 years it's done and they can start saving and not spending $3 to $4 billion a year, if they drop their capex from 19 billion to 16 billion because they're not building out fiber anymore, then to me, that's still fine. I would still expect them to be at about 15 or 16 billion in wireless, honestly. I wouldn't expect them to dip too low, right? Now, if you go from 18 or 19 billion down to 15 or 16 billion, T-Mobile's they're currently at like 12 billion. They're going to drop to 9, right? So T-Mobile never went so high, and they were trying to play catch up. That's why I was concerned. Like when you guys watched my video a couple of days ago, that was my concern about T-Mobile is they never kicked up more than they probably needed to in coverage. So that's why I see the Verizon and the T-Mobile piece a little bit different. Next thing that Verizon could probably reduce capex from, the Intelligent Edge project will be finishing at about the same time as the One Fiber program. This is the network upgrade process in which the network core, the standalone 5G core, is going to be pretty much fully installed, fully functional, operational, and running. So we're talking about the transport process. We're talking about the 5G networking, the initial investment of 5G, like what's happening now currently. It's really, really heavy. You have to densify the network with a lot of sites, a lot of millimeter wave nodes, a lot of C-band upgrades. And then you also have to invest in a network core, which is going to cost billions of dollars. There's a lot of hardware, there's a lot of software, there's a lot of vendors involved. Even if you do it ORAN, it's still going to be expensive. So we're talking about a heavy capex investment, huge operational expenditure as well. It's going to drop significantly by 2024 and 2025. Everything's front loaded. It's like opening a business in a way. That's how I look at 5G. I literally look at 5G like opening a new business. you've got to buy equipment. You've got to, hire employees. You need tools. You need software, computers. You've got all this networking tech. Okay, so as I was saying about the drop in the capex, yeah, that's just me. That's right. The thing about 5G that a lot of people don't remember, and this is something that I spoke to a long time ago, when I was first kind of trying to get people to think about 5G as a transitional stage, and that sort of thing. The operations of 5G are actually more cost efficient, right? So I'm in a lot of different ways. So, when we saw like the comparison of the 3G and 4G and LTE, it was more like, well, now with 5G you get ORAN, you get you get a energy cost savings because it's a little bit more energy efficient. You're welcome. You already have a bunch of pre-existing sites that you don't have to build. You have a lot of infrastructure that is already pre-existing. Hey, Stephanie, good to see you. The getter, the unicorn. There's zoning, there's permits that you don't need when you're upgrading from 4G LTE to 5G, all that hardware and such. Pretty much all the costs are going to be down, right? You just simply don't have to invest so much money once you have all the infrastructure in place. But again, like I said, it's going to be resource and money intensive over the next couple of years. All right. Third item, and this is probably another big piece of what's going to reduce Verizon's capex if they're able to do this. Uh, 3G operations are going to be completely shut down. For those of you that know, maybe you don't, 3G sunset time is ongoing. And once they do that, that's a complete network segment that no longer requires any resources. They're going to get to keep that money in their pocket, so to say. Well, they'll be using it on another network segment. But yeah, it costs money to operate legacy tech, and they're going to have that completely decommed, and they will no longer have to operate it anymore. And currently, when you think about, like, what is the capex, what is it looking like? I think Verizon's current capex is at $18.5 billion slated for this year. It's up about $500 million or $1 billion from last year. And I think it's been this way for the last couple of years. I would expect it to stay this way for another couple of years. But maybe after 2024, I think it's perfectly feasible because if you think about it, C-band, which costed them about $50 billion in investment into just the spectrum alone, millimeter wave, I mean, come on. That's taken a huge investment too, and it's taking a lot of time, and there's a lot of sites. All right. And they got CBRS investments, that's LTE, and that'll be moving to 5G NR. And, C-band deployment has a dedicated $10 billion expenditure, and that's going to be happening over the next 2 to 3 years. And when you add up all these things, the millimeter wave nodes, I think they want to add 14 or 15,000 nodes annually, new additions every year. They're going to do that for the next few years. So at that point, if you think about the math, we're going to have 30,000 millimeter wave nodes at the end of this year. That's 3 years, right? They've got about 30,000. They're going to do 15,000, so that's 45,000 added to the pre-existing 30,000. So they're going to be at like 75,000 nodes. And they're going to probably be in and around 80,000 or so macro sites. I mean, that is a ton of expenditure and upgrades. And they're going to be pretty far ahead in all likelihood. Honestly, guys, I would not be surprised if Verizon continues to have network dominance in the route metrics and, you know, the speed testing and all of this. They're going to have a ton of bandwidth on a really upgraded network, large scale. You know, I would expect Verizon to probably be the fastest carrier because of their emphasis on millimeter wave and because of their tower densification and their small cell investment, honestly. So what I'm getting at is this. Verizon has been spending so much money for so long. Even if they were to scale it back a little bit, they're not falling behind. They're really not. Maybe AT&T catches up. You know, AT&T has been spending 20 and 22 billion. They're going to spend 24 billion next year. Maybe AT&T catches Verizon. Maybe. Right? But it's just every year, every project, every dedicated build-out network segment. And now it looks like Verizon might be reaching the terminus in those projects. The One Fiber project is finishing. The Intelligence Edge project is finishing. 3G networking shut down. You know, the millimeter wave nodes will be heavily densified by then. The C-band deployments will be done by then. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be finished. So T-Mobile is going to be finishing similar projects. They'll get to save their money that way. And then, I don't know. We'll see what AT&T says if they could speak to something like this. I'll be listening for what they have to say about capex, because they just spun off all their media assets to make room for spending. You know. So honestly, the hard part for Verizon is probably mostly done for mid-band at that point, and that might be where they're going with this. The fiber, the mid-band, it's mostly going to be done. So I don't really. There is one thing. I got to be totally honest with you guys. For those of you that are in rural America, for those of you that are waiting for Verizon to upgrade a tower site in your county and waiting for new tower sites, like maybe you just have one in your town or two towers in your town, or you're looking for 3 or 4, I don't think Verizon's going to be your carrier. Honestly, I think if you're looking for a rural carrier, I think it's going to be AT&T. If Verizon is scaling back spending and they're not growing the network, it's not expanding, it's not getting larger, I wouldn't be surprised. I think AT&T is going to be the company to do that. Because Verizon has already declared they're going to scale back spending. T-Mobile has said they're going to scale back spending. Honestly, I think it's going to affect rural America. The return of investment just is not there. AT&T has to do it as part of their requirements with FirstNet. So I think that's really your only hope. I think AT&T is going to be the one through the FirstNet contract that could get you guys more coverage in rural America. Now, I got to tell you, it's hard for me to feel really bad for rural America because you chose to live out there. But I mean, like I said, I think AT&T is the rural America carrier moving forward. I don't know if it's going to be Verizon much longer. I mean, it's not like Verizon's going to be tearing down sites, but I don't think they're going to be building a lot of new ones, honestly. They'll be upgrading the ones that exist, but I don't think they're going to be adding many more. So yeah, you know, T-Mobile, Verizon, I think they're out of the rural expansion business. They're going to add some, but it's just not going to be a focus area for them. I know T-Mobile says they are and stuff like that, but just look at the spending. It's falling back. It doesn't add up to it to me. With AT&T, at least you get the reimbursement. You know, through the FirstNet, it incentivizes them to cover the country, you know, for them to get reimbursed and make that money, those landmark checkpoints and stuff like that. I don't know. And it makes sense. Like, AT&T is going to build new sites. They're going to be upgrading sites with band 14. While they do that, they upgrade to band 30. They're going to be doing C-band at those sites too. They divested the media business. So that means they have reduced their debt. They freed up cash, you know, with the whole Discovery deal. And all signs show large-scale improvement from AT&T, honestly. It just makes sense. So I don't know what you guys think about these points. Again, It's not that I don't have any worries about Verizon dropping capex. Again, like I said, I think it affects rural America. Same thing with T-Mobile's. But I think by 2024, 2025, I mean, Verizon's going to have tens of thousands of nodes national. And well, not national, but like whatever markets they want to do millimeter wave in. The C-band will be done. The CBRS will be done. You know, the focus is probably going to start. They're going to start planning 6G at that point. Freaking crazy. Anyways, that's it for the show. I want to thank the 112 viewers that are currently in the live chat, and I think we peaked at 130 viewers tonight. So big shout out to, all my viewers and supporters of the SMT YouTube channel. Big shout out to Darian. Most shocking thing I learned last week is that here in the Bay Area, I've pushed AT&T fiber to 3 T-Mobile cell sites in the last 2 weeks. Enemies publicly, but buddy behind closed doors. That is right, Darian. I appreciate that super chat. I've been hearing that AT&T has been upgrading a lot of T-Mobile hardware in terms of fiber to tower sites that have the new N41 upgrades. So I have totally heard that. And I appreciate that confirmation because we've been, hearing it through different outlets and different sources, but it's good to get the confirmation. But yeah, you know what they say, all's fair in love and war. It's actually all's fair in love, war, and business. You can lie through your teeth in business and it's okay. That's just a corporate way, you know what I mean? Thanks, James. Appreciate you, and appreciate great to see you too, man. Thank you. Big shout out to Alexis. I just saw that super chat. Got the guy with the hat and the heart. Appreciate it, Alexis. Thank you so much for the donation. Alexis always been a huge supporter of the channel and the Patreon page. Thank you. Rashawn, thank you. Gonna have to #replay crew. Let's go ahead and do that, actually. Let's go ahead and close out the show. But before we do, if it is your first time here, YouTube recommended my live stream or video to you, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Turn on the bell notification icon so you know whenever I do go live or upload new videos. And also check out the Patreon page. We got a link in the description box for that. If you like what we're doing with the channel and you want more access, you want, early access to videos, exclusive content, podcast, live stream, stuff like that, check us out there. There's a link in the description box. Appreciate you, Zero Cool. Thank you for that super chat as well. You guys are amazing. Darian, Alexis, Zero Cool, thank you so much for those donos, man. You guys are great. Thank you. I don't know if I missed anybody else, possibly. So if I missed you, I do apologize. Thank you, guys. All right. #Mod Squad for all my blue wrenches out there, holding it down, keeping things kosher in the live stream. #2Live Crew for those of you that are here in the live. 9:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when this aired. Appreciate you guys. #Replay Crew if you're watching this on DVR at a later time. I appreciate you as well. And #Ravioli Gang, this is a special one, if you are snacking or eating dinner while you were listening or watching this podcast. Thank you so much. And that's it. Appreciate you guys being a part of the SMT Podcast. We hope to see you soon on the next show. Might do one this Sunday, so stay tuned. Keep it locked to the SMT. You guys have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.